Stephanie, we didn't get a chance to kind of just meet before him. So we'll just do it as we go. First of all, I want to thank all you guys for showing up again. Another Friday night, another happy hour. This has been really cool. It's been really fun. It's nice to kind of set the calendar every other Friday night and see you guys face to face, really.
See how we did that? We don't stick you with us every Friday night because I know that's too much. We give you a week off.
But yeah, so Stephanie Lueras, is it Lueras, Stephanie?
Yes.
All right, Stephanie Lueras is here today. She's a motivational speaker. She's got a great story. So I hear my friend Erin says great things about you. Absolutely great things about you. So I can't wait to talk to you and get this going. Again, thank you guys all for showing up on a Friday night. And I want to introduce Stephanie. I think this is going to be a little bit different than our normal sort of Q&A, the way we have it. It's going to be more like, I think, a podcast and the way we do it. So Stephanie is our guest for the evening. And I'm just going to ask her to do like, I don't know, why don't you give us like a brief sort of introduction on who you are, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, first of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got my headset on because my studio is a giant echo chamber, so I kind of changed up the sound a little bit today. But I am Stephanie Lueras, and I am the owner of Heart and Soul Fitness and Wellness. And I am a personal trainer. I do, obviously, personal training, but I also am a fitness nutrition specialist. And so I also do nutrition counseling, meal planning, accountability coaching, and a whole host of other things. But I do that on a one-on-one basis. And I don't do that on any type of scripted program or anything like that, because I came to where I am in doing what I do based on my own personal journey. Because I myself have lost over 200 pounds through just movement and balanced nutrition. I have not done any wacky diets or anything like that. I very much am a believer in goal setting and just getting out there and removing the barriers that we have in our everyday life, and just getting into what lights our passion and fitting it into the mold of what we do so that we can still achieve those things that we want to do, but it's not an interruption to life and kids and jobs and everything else. So
I think that's great. Wow, you were a jack of all trades, huh? That's good stuff. So, like I said, I wanted to kind of make this more of like a podcast than a Q&A, I guess. I saw Elizabeth Bain joined us. Hey Bain. And Katie Mayo. Hey, Katie. Keep running, Taco. I see you. And it's awesome to have you here, Stephanie. Listen, why don't you? I just ask you to tell a little bit of your personal story. I mean, I hear you kind of give that intro, and I'm like 200 pounds. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't happen overnight. Like, how did that happen for you? Why don't you give us a little bit of a sort of a personal story?
Okay. No, it doesn't happen overnight. So about almost 6 years ago, I came from a corporate background. I was an administrator and a pastor in a nonprofit organization. And I was pretty miserable in my work. I was just at a point where I was not happy in what I was doing. I was not happy in my body. I was uncomfortable in my skin. I was just not being productive. And I knew something had changed. I didn't know what it was, because I have been overweight my entire life. I was put on my first diet as a 5-year-old. I distinctly have that memory of sitting in the pediatrician's office and them telling my mother she has to go on a diet. So I've been on every diet known to man. Horror stories I could go on all day long. So I understand that diets don't work. They work for a little while, but they are not sustainable. So this is where goal setting comes into my life, because I knew something to change, but I didn't know what it was. So it was just going to be, okay, we're just going to start with habits. What are habits that I can change? So it was really little things that I would start to pinpoint in my day that would change how I felt. So the very basic things I did to start was like, I didn't drink through the day. So it was hydration. Let's get some water into my body. So I had a little kitchen timer that I had on my desk. The water cooler was at the other end of my office. So I had to physically get out of my chair, walk the 40 steps to the other end of the building to fill my little cup. I purposely made it a little cup, and just to get some motion and get hydration. And so it was just building on these little habits. So I start to feel better, and then I felt like I was accomplishing something. And so it was on hydration. Then it was like, okay, what are some of these eating habits that I could change? Cooking at home, getting some new and exciting recipes that are fast. If it's going to take me longer than 20 minutes to cook, I'm not cooking it. So getting some healthy recipes that were exciting, that taste good, that wasn't chicken breast and salad every night, and getting some new things into my diet. And I'm married. My husband, if I put a healthy vegetable in front of him, he's not eating it. So it's one of these things. For probably the first year, I was making 2 separate dinners. I was still cooking crap for him and making good things for me. But it was that living by example too, that he'd start to see the different things I was making for myself. And he'd say, oh, hey, next time you make that, just make that me too. So it was that living by example that he started eating different too, because I would never force what I was doing on him. As I started feeling better, then I was starting to be open to motion, because obviously I'm still not a small person. So I was not very mobile at 200 pounds heavier. So just walking to the end of the street and back, I wanted to die. So it was, okay, we're just going to walk to the end of the street and back, walk to the end of the street and back. Kept doing that over and over again. Then it was around the block. Then it was around the neighborhood. Kept increasing the distance and increasing the distance. Then one day I got the bug up my butt that, what if I can run? So I saw this stop sign in the distance, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go with it. Something flipped in my head that, I'm a kid that fake sick in gym class. So the fact that I could run to this stop sign blew my mind. It was on at that point. Something lit up inside of me with running, and I'm like, I got to do this. I have got to figure this out. So I got online and was okay, training plans and Galloway method and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, found this 5K, because I live in a kind of rural area that we don't have local races. So found a race, and I'm like, okay, it was 6 months away. I can figure this out. My first 5K, I thought I was going to die. I was in the podiatrist's office the next Monday because I totally tore open my feet because I had the whole cotton socks thing and everything. It was a horrible experience, but it was the greatest thing because I did my first 5K. My first 5K, I did it in an hour, but it was the greatest thing in the world. So while I was doing this 5K in this insane amount of time, and I could care less about time, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a half marathon. So a year from that first 5K, said, okay, figured it out. And of course, I'm looking okay, long race time limits and everything. And my husband and I like to travel. So all of my races are pretty much racecations. So we ended up going on a road trip to Washington for my first half marathon. Amazing experience. And at this point, like I was still like 350 pounds when I did my first marathon. It was incredible. So, fast forward, I'm still incorporating all these healthy habits, still losing weight, going through this training program. And, my first half marathon is probably still one of my fondest race memories because it was just such an accomplishment that I was able to just keep putting those goals in place, keep working towards something that I wanted so badly, and to prove to myself that it was possible. And I keep doing that. I've done a number of half marathons. I've done 2 marathons. Now I'm crazy and I've jumped over into triathlon. I've got a half iron and a full iron. God willing, races actually happen this year. So, I keep proving to myself that if I keep on with goals that I put in place, keep on with the training plans, the accountability, I have a coach and I have other people in my life that hold me accountable to all the different goals I have in nutrition, in, the different ways that I improve myself outside of just that nutrition, outside of just the physical things, that nothing really is impossible because there's so much that we have to pull down in the barrier, especially being someone who's not small. In triathlon, there's the bike. There are weight limits on carbon frames. You got to get a good bike. You got to get a bike that fits you. You got to get the gear. Gear doesn't fit large bodies. You got to find gear that is comfortable, that fits, that moves with you. So it's working around these different barriers and not letting it get you down, but just knowing that nothing is insurmountable if you're willing to work around it and put in the effort to find what is there, but just find the advocates to get you there. So that's where I'm at.
Stephanie, I think that's an incredible story. And I tell you, I can go around the screen here and I know pretty much everyone here. And I think I've had this conversation with every single person here, and to see what you've accomplished and the way you've done it, I think it's amazing. And I think we all can relate in some way to your story and the story that you just told. I mean, every single person, even Roman's who's skinny. Roman's like a super athlete, but everyone feels like challenged, and you want to go after it. And I think that I don't know, the way that you just explain the whole story is just, I don't know, it's incredible, and I love hearing it. I mean, we have someone on the treadmill right now watching. Sarah on the treadmill right now watching us. I think that's awesome. I know I muted you, Sarah. I'm sorry.
I think she said 1 mile.
But I think that's great. I will say too, I didn't mention this before, but we do have the chat open. So if you guys want to comment and you want to put in the chat, I did see Mike Romas mention racecation is my new favorite word. But tell me, so what you said you did 2 marathons, and you said you're looking at a 70.3 and a full Ironman. What are the 2 marathons that you did, and what are the races that you have coming up?
So my first marathon was the Labor of Love. It is a very small local race that is outside Vegas. And it is by Calico Racing. If you're ever in Las Vegas, that is an amazing race group. They put on races all through the year. Actually, I did one last year. It was the ET. I did the half, but they have a marathon and a 5K, 10K that goes with it along Area 51. That was real cool. But so I did Labor of Love was my first marathon, and I did the Chicago Marathon. And I keep saying, if you want to run a marathon in the rain, just call me, because I tend to bring the rain to marathons. So you know, they both
MCM last year. I can go around this.
Oh yeah,
Debbie and
I was just gonna say
Stephanie,
we can all relate to that.
Last year was ridiculous.
Both days predicted. Yeah, both days were predicted beautiful weather, and then like on a dime, it changed. So I'm like, come on. And then so this year, I was supposed to do Ironman Coeur d'Alene 70.3, and that got postponed, and the date didn't work for me. So I deferred to Ironman Super Frog 70.3 at the end of September. So what that happened, and then I am on target for Ironman Arizona in November. So.
Oh wow.
That has been my dream Ironman. So we'll see.
Doing your first 70.3,
and then her first.
And then you wow.
Well, I have not actually completed a 70.3. I actually last year I contracted valley fever, and I competed in Ironman Oceanside last year in DNF. But so. It's not my first attempt, but hopefully it'll be my first finish.
Yeah. With that being said, I have DNF'd a couple of races myself.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you that before I know I saw Denise, you threw a question there. But I want to talk about DNFing just because you mentioned it and because I've done it.
Yeah.
Did you DNF because you didn't make the time? Did you DNF because you had to kind of pull out? Or and what was your feeling afterwards? I mean, what I'm impressed at is that you're here talking about your next one,
mm-hmm.
and you weren't discouraged and just kept you going. You know what I mean? I'm impressed that you obviously you haven't given up. So how did you feel after the DNF? What caused you to DNF? And then what is the fire inside that tells you I ain't quitting?
So I've DNF'd Ironman Oceanside, and I've DNF'd 2 Century races. And all 3 were due to time. And all of them, the 2 Century races were due to fueling, and Ironman Oceanside due to illness. But the overall thing was time in the end. But and I don't blame any of it on lack of training, lack of ability, that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't prepared. I don't, because sometimes we get that imposter syndrome afterwards, like, well, maybe I just wasn't ready, or maybe I wasn't good enough for it, so why try again? I take the attitude that it is what is. What can I learn from the experience, and how can I fix it for next time? I'm somebody that really likes to dig into the details and I go way into the weeds sometimes with stats and information, probably more than I need to. But, I look at what went wrong, how can I fix it? Is there something I could have done differently? And, not fixate on, well, if I had done this differently, I could have made it, but what could have done differently so that this doesn't happen again? And just looking at how can I improve this for the future so it doesn't happen again? Because, I have goals. I have these things I want to achieve. So I'm not going to change what my end result is, but I'm going to change how I'm going to get to the end result. So I have all this new information I can play with and how I'm going to change the action steps to get to the end.
I think, and I think, Elizabeth Bain just commented there that you've just named all the things that most people, especially women, blame when they do something like, when they don't finish in the DNF. But then you're still after it. You're still learning. You're still gathering information and trying to kind of transform that into success, which is, I think that there are a lot of people, and there are a lot of people out there that will try something, fail at it, and give up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it seems like you don't have that attitude. Is that so? And Denise, I haven't forgotten your question. I'm trying to roll with the momentum here. But is that something that that you embrace? Was there a moment of time? It seems like old Stephanie may not have embraced a DNF. Old Stephanie might have, said, "I'm not meant for this, and I'm done," and that's it. Is there something in your life that changed that brought you, or just describe that? I guess describe that that frame of mind a little bit, where you've gone from someone who probably would never even take on this challenge to someone who DNF'd and then said, "What am I going to learn from this? What am I going to change to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Oh, and I'm going to sign up for another one."
I have spent the majority of my life telling myself that I am not enough, that I don't belong, that I can't do it. And, y'all know the things we tell ourselves. But at the end of the day, I know I can. And if I give up, all I'm doing is solidifying those wrong messages. So by reworking the plan, by continuing to persevere, by changing the action steps and continuing forward, it's showing not the haters, not the people who are still outside thinking I can't, but it's showing myself the reality that it is possible and that I can. And it's getting outside of worrying what everybody else is thinking and really concentrating on rewriting the tapes in my head that say I can.
I love that. I love that answer.
That's a good one.
I love that answer. Just because it makes me relate to even myself and the decisions I've made and the things that have happened to me and all that good stuff. But I think that's an incredible answer. I'll go to Denise's question because it's up there. And I'm going to ask, I'm going to kind of change around your question a little bit, Denise, because
totally. Sure.
And if it's a bad question, then you can by all means chip in and say, but from people who start running, people who start doing races, people who start doing marathons and stuff like that, especially people who come from like a weight loss situation, right? Where I was 280 and I got down to like 212 for my first marathon, and you're always kind of fighting that food thing. So Denise's question is, what do you eat during a marathon? But above and beyond that, she said, how do you deal with being run-grey, right? So you're starting to train, you go out and you run, and you're always starving. You get home, you go out, you run 3 miles, and you come home and you eat the entire fridge. Is there a mindset that says that's beyond that? Like, how do you deal with sort of like that? I don't know, maybe it's kind of like retreating back to that old you, or because I deal with it too. As I'm asking you from my perspective, is how do you deal with that? Retreating back to, I got to eat everything because I'm hungry, but I ran 3 miles, so I can do it. But in reality, that those two don't offset. So is there a discipline there that you follow, or a training program or something that you follow that gets you, obviously you lost 200 pounds. So is there a secret there?
Well, there's two different branches on this. The first area is I am a champion at under-fueling. I am the queen of bonking. I cannot tell you how many times I have been rescued on the side of the road with my head between my knees because I have not had enough fuel. Because less is more, right? Calorie deficit, that's what it's about with weight loss. Ha ha, not an endurance sport. So, and that's one of the balances I really had to come to is I have to take in calories, but they have to be quality calories. And so that's really something, especially as a larger person. I'm not just going out with like a bottle of water and a goo. Well, my stomach can't even handle them in the first place. But, learning that like me, if I'm going out for a bike ride, I have to take in 300 calories an hour just to sustain myself. And like, for me, that blows my mind. Like, but I'm like, how am I going to lose weight taking in 300 calories an hour? Like that doesn't compute for me. So that's one of those things where my coach kind of like, shut up and just do it. And, otherwise you're going to sit on the side of the road and be calling somebody. So it's separating the two and learning this is what you need to get through the workout and sustain yourself through the workout, because believe me, you're going to need it. But then, like the run gurt afterwards is a totally different thing. And for me, I don't diet. I don't track calories and things like that. I'm very mindful of macros, especially my protein intake. I ascribe to the practices of intuitive eating. So I'm very conscious of my hunger level, when I'm satisfied, when I'm full. Immediately after a workout, I'm ensuring that I'm taking in something with protein and something with carbs. Protein for that muscle recovery and carbs for that immediate satiation. So, I'm really, getting, that snack immediately. And then about half an hour to an hour later, I might be having another snack meal if I'm hungry. But I'm really just paying attention to my body's cues. And that's an intentional practice. That's slowing down and being mindful and constantly questioning, am I hungry and how hungry am I? And, taking a few bites of something and saying, okay, was that enough? Do I need more? Or can I come back in 20 minutes and have something else? And it's a game we play. It's a process. And it's not something that happens overnight. And I see the question there, how do we know how many calories we should be consuming when we're biking our race? That is very individual. It is based on our body size, our metabolism. The best thing you can do is get into a lab and get a sweat test done. And they do that on a treadmill or a bike with all this fun equipment. Because it's very individual. And it's not something that is really just a flat answer to be able to say. And actually for me, I consume a very different amount on the bike than I need to on the run. So
yeah,
that's
funny to watch. It's funny to watch the coach in you come out at that point.
Yeah.
it's like a little switch from athlete to coach right there. But I always say the same thing. It's like you can do bike rides and you can do runs and you can look at your Garmin or whatever, and it'll give you a roundabout number of how many calories you burned. Ideally, you'd love to replace all of them during the run. You'd never bonk ever, but typically the people's stomachs, your stomach can handle a certain amount.
And I know that.
Right.
So what I tell my clients is 20 to 25%, try to replace every hour, 20 to 25%. So on a bike, you'll typically burn less than you will running. But if your stomach can handle more, and that's where the individuality comes in, if I'm right, Stephanie. If your body can handle more, take more, because you're going to need, especially if you're doing any long events where you and your Ironman, if you can handle more, especially early on, it's going to save you later on in the day. And you know who taught me a lot of this is Elizabeth Bain right there. She taught me some of that. I had her on my podcast. Yeah. She also told me to have salt when I drank water too, which was, she's smart. So Ironman, what do you got? I drink and know things. That's great. I'll open up here and see if any of you guys have any questions. Denise, did I ask your question properly, or was there more to it?
No, that was
okay.
good. Yeah, and I have another one up there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. There's
And
another one. I
we
missed
have
it.
a few. Did we get all of these?
Denise, swimming. Do you burn more calories than running while swimming? When you want to take that one, Stephanie?
Honestly, I don't pay attention to my calorie burn. So your guess is as good as mine. I can tell you I am hungrier after swimming than running. Whether that has any correlation to calorie burn, I have no clue. I am starving after swimming.
I tell you, what, swimming, when I swim, and I don't know, you could tell me, the thing about swimming is you use your upper body a lot more. So when you're used to running and you're used to biking, to use that upper body when you're swimming, it just feels different. Everything feels different. I think typically you will burn less calories on a scientific basis swimming. Running is always, to me, I haven't found anything better than running when it comes to burning calories. The problem with running all day long, if you're just doing it to diet and you're just doing it, is, running is a pounding on your legs. It's pounding on your knees, pounding on your bones, your muscles, everything. If you run every day, and especially, for someone like me who's bigger and always I weigh 230, 240, I'm risking injury. I am really risking injury if I run every single day. But on the bike, less so. In the pool, even less so than that. So, and the comment right there, Bain, you can't outrun your fork. Yeah, let me ask you this, Stephanie. Do you find that too? If you are binge eating or in sort of like a you feel like you're sort of facing every day and going to the pantry as opposed to to the workout, is that something that you can't overcome by exercise alone, or do you battle that still?
I will be completely honest. I come from an eating disorder background, and so there's a lot of complex things when it comes to that balance between food and exercise for me. And, I sometimes have to have that debate on what's going on with food and what's going on with exercise. And, I feel better when my body is in motion. My mind is clearer. I'm able to function better. I'm able to get through the day better. And regardless of what I'm eating, whether, I'm eating a pound of carrots or a pound of chocolate, there is a psychological thing that's going on between that hand and mouth that's happening that I need to be paying attention to in that mindless motion. So, we can't outrun the fork because there's so much emotion. There's so much tied to what's happening when we're eating. That it's, yeah, we have to eat to live, but usually there's a little more behind what we're doing when we're eating than just fueling our body.
Yeah, like really enjoying the yummy stuff that you like to enjoy.
Right.
Sorry.
It's funny. Sometimes I say to Stephanie, I got to do an hour. If I do an hour on the bike and then I go out and do a run later in the afternoon, it's almost as beneficial as when I'm out. All right, so that's almost 2 hours in the day that I'm exercising. But not only is it 2 hours a day that I'm out there burning calories, but it's 2 hours of the day that I'm not home consuming them. Mm-hmm. And on a ratio basis, that's pretty good. Like if I'm up in the day for 14 hours, and I can take 2 of those hours out and know I ain't eating during those 2 hours because I'm working out or exercising, that's a good, I'm getting rid of like a good percentage of the time that I can't be snacking and eating. And I think, a lot of times that comes off as that time when I'm home by myself, or even I'm sitting at the computer doing work, the cat, I can look at it. It's right there. There's chips in there.
We got to move our office out of this.
It's right there. Chips.
Next to the kitchen. We got to go back to our own office.
So let me ask you that, Stephanie. Is there any kind of like strategies that you use? One of my personal ones is sometimes I look at the food and I go, all right, what is this going to do for me and my training? Because like you said, when you go from a life of not being active to a life of being active, all of a sudden, like something switches and you go, I kind of like this. I kind of like this me better than that me.
Oh yeah.
Do you find the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you talk about, that ratio of the day spent away from the pantry and things like that. I think just no matter how much time it is, that time spent in motion, and I'm sure there's science behind it, if we dug it out, but just that time we spend in motion, I think alters how we feel through the rest of the day and in our perspective on food. Because because for me, I do work out early in the morning before anything else in the day. That, it's part of my morning routine. It's not the very first thing, but it's up there. And so, if I don't get my workout in, I'm sluggish. I don't feel as alert. I'm more apt to be in the pantry or looking for another cup of coffee or finding something that's getting me through the day. But if I've had that workout in, no matter how long the workout is, I'm more engaged, and I'm not craving something to keep me on task or on the next thing and things like that.
Well, how much of that though is mental in terms of, how like sometimes if you do the workout in the morning, it feels like check the box. I got that done. And you just feel good inside that you got that done. And it gives you sort of like a better outlook on the day versus maybe a start of the day where you're like, all right, I didn't get the workout done. Now I'm having a bacon, egg, and cheese. And now I'm going to work.
Now I'm tired. Now I'm pissed off. Now.
I mean, what's, is that, I mean, you said you did your workouts in the morning. Is that part of the benefit?
A lot of it for me is the concept of empowered choice. How do I want to feel? And, I wrap it around all my decisions. When am I going to skip this workout? What am I going to eat? When I'm standing in front of the pantry or the fridge and making a food choice, is the food I'm choosing contributing to how I want my body to feel. And now don't get me wrong, I eat cheeseburgers and cupcakes. I like my cheeseburgers and my cupcakes. But, you know, we know what foods make us feel good and what foods don't make our body feel good. And so it's taking the pause and really looking at, is the decision I'm making going to edify my life, or is it holding me back? And we can do that in everything, not just our workouts, not just our food, but in all our decisions.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. You know, so one of the things that I wrote down when you were talking was when you said, how do I want to feel? Right? That's what you said. You said, how do I want to feel? And how many of us during the day kind of just make decisions where we don't ever ask ourselves that question. And we just kind of say, all right, you know,
I gotta get this done.
Grab the chips, got to do this, got to do that. And and sometimes I'm just like, I got things I got to do, but then eating is always kind of like part of the thing. But I don't ever think like, all right, I got to work out later. So maybe this ice cream or this cake or whatever I'm going to eat is not a good idea. And I think, I don't know, when you were talking, I just wrote that down. How do I want to feel? Like maybe that's something we should be asking ourselves on a more regular basis, you know? I don't know. But, you know, back to Elizabeth's quote when she said, you know, you can't outrun your fork, which you've heard a few times, I'm sure. But, you know, do you focus on calories? Do you focus on, or it's just like you've lost 200 pounds and you're focused and you've done a marathon, you've done 2, you said, right?
Yep.
And how much of that, I mean, well, here's another question from Denise. I'm going to go on to the next one because I'm kind of caught. I feel like I'm asking the same question. How do you make yourself get out the door to run? What's the one, you know, if you're caught in a rut, or if you're caught in, you know, what gets you up and out the door?
How do you break that mentality of, you know, being in a rut, basically?
Accountability. I don't do things that I don't like to do. And, you know, occasionally we all get into that place where we just don't want to do it. And it's okay to take a break sometimes. We have to take a break sometimes. Yeah, we have our training plans. We have our goals we're working towards. Sometimes it's okay to take a couple days. Sometimes it's okay to take a week. But when we're starting to stray away, we need the people to bring us back. You know, yeah, I have my coach. I've had my coach for years. We text each other insanely, and it's probably a third relationship. But outside of that, I have people in my life that I get on every day that hold me accountable to, yeah, I got up this morning at 4 a.m. because I don't run after the sun rises because it's hotter than hell here.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm letting them know, yep, got up, ran, I'm home now. And, you know, sometimes we joke around, sometimes we're sending screenshots, and, you know, I have other people that hold me accountable in business and on other areas of development that I'm working on. And, you know, we cheer each other on, we encourage each other, we share the hard things, but they also come in and give you that kick in the pants when you need it. Because sometimes there are things that we just don't want to do, and we need that reminder of how much we love them. You know, I adore running. There is something about being in motion that just makes the world right. But I don't care there is nothing about getting out the door that is easy. no matter how long I've done it. I hate getting out the door. So I need somebody to push me out. Once I'm out the door, I'm fine. But I need that accountability component. But I realize that. And so I have that in my life.
Yeah, it seems like we got a couple comments there about people love doing races. They love finishing races. They love getting medals. They love being that feeling of kind of crossing the finish line and being proud of themselves and what they've done and what they've accomplished. Now you talk about sort of the difficulty of getting out the door. Let me ask you this. So this is the way I've heard it put, and you can agree or just I'll throw it out there and have you comment. That motivation and being motivated to do something is more of an emotion. You feel motivated. You feel like, all right, hey, I'm feeling good. I'm going out. I'm going to run.
And it runs out.
But what really matters, what really gets us is discipline. Mm-hmm. So discipline's less emotion. It's more, I know what I got to do. And in order to get to where I want to be, this is what I need to do. How do you balance motivation and discipline? And like, how would you kind of approach those topics?
What's the quote? Like, motivation, like, fades daily, like bathing, that's why they recommend it, or something like that. Yeah. You know, we get excited, like, you know, we have the race we're working towards, or the great medal, or things like that. We have the motivating factors, but you nailed it, the discipline. You know, I am not a morning person. 4 a.m. was not an optimal thing for me at first. But it had to be building the habit to get there, and building the routine and getting into it, and just continually doing it. And, you know, over and over and over. I mean, thank God I moved, because I used to have to get up at 3 a.m. to be able to get to the pool on time, because I used to live 75 minutes from my pool. Thank God I'm 5 minutes away now. But so, you know, it's one of those things that it's the discipline of, once we start the habit, continuing it over and over and over, and having, you know, that the motivation, the goals of, you know, this is what I'm working towards. So we have something that we're looking forward to that keeps us going. We have the accountability. We have somebody that's keeping us on track. So there's a lot of different pieces that go on into it that keep us along the way. And, you know, too, it's being able to see progress. You know, that's why we have our coaches. That's why we have our Garmins and everything else. So we see all these different things that keep us going. You know, if you're motivated by the scale, and, you know, that's not a great motivator, because sometimes it goes up and down, but, you know, things like that. But just having those benchmarks of seeing progress and all these different things that we can have along the way, it really encourages the habit. And that's where we see that discipline start to form.
Yeah, I think I'm reading Elizabeth Bain's comment about, I hate the part where I start to get sweaty and it feels yucky, but then being a total sweaty mess, that's fine. And
Yeah.
it kind of reminds me. So like, I used to get up, like what I used to get up. No one's gonna know why I'm laughing when I put this on YouTube, but it's because Elizabeth was making faces. So, you know, like it reminds me of when I would get up early in the morning and go swimming when you're training for a triathlon. I would literally sit on the side of the pool and say to myself, well, if I jump in, I'm going to get all wet. And then it's going to be like 20 minutes before I dry myself off. And then I got to go to work after or whatever. And it's like that spot of, you know, and then once I was in the pool and I'm on lap 5, I'm going, wow, it's 6:15 in the morning and I'm through 5 laps. I'm going to get through, you know, 80 laps by the time this is all done. I'm going to feel really good. And I'm enjoying myself. Like, this is fun. So there's that like little kind of, I don't know, what's that? It's like that point where you have to get beyond, you know, you have to get beyond your comfort level, where you have to push yourself to that point where you're fully committed. And once you're fully committed, you're like, wow, like this is great. This is where I want to be. This is, you know, you're training for something. all the bling you guys are talking about when you finish that race and that feeling, that discipline that you've actually made that choice to be there in the pool or to be there outside and running at 4 a.m. or whatever you're doing. I kind of love that. It's like, and there's been plenty of days where I sat on the side of the pool and I decided not to go in and I went to work instead, which those are those days I've made those choices I kind of kick myself for. But the discipline in actually going and making that connection to do it, I think is I don't know, I'm struggling here, but it's, I think it takes a lot. And sometimes when you're not in that motivated phase, sometimes you're in the motivated phase, you just get up and you go and you do it because you do it. And then some days it's a real struggle. So when let me ask you this then, Stephanie, on the days it's a struggle, on the days when you don't want to do it, what is the little thing in your head that makes you go and jump in the pool when you don't want to, or roll out of bed when you just want to hit snooze? What's the little thing in your head that says get up and move?
Bribery. I totally have bribery. I have playlists that are just reserved for the bad days. I have my little audio, my Aqua audio, whatever it's called, that, I'll use for the first 20 minutes in the pool. That's the only time I'll use it. And, for me, they say the first mile is the hardest. It's always the first two. The first 2 miles of my run are the worst. They feel bad. They're the slowest. Ugh. So, that's when I'm pulling up a great audiobook or one of those special playlists. And, I'm not above bribery, not in the least.
All right. So we got a couple questions here, which is interesting. What if I want to compete in a triathlon and I'm bad at swimming?
Do it.
That's so many people ask.
That's me.
So many people. She can't swim. She wants to do one too.
Yeah.
Yes, there is so many supportive avenues to get in triathlon if you are a poor swimmer. I highly encourage you to look for a local triathlon club or adult swimming lessons, or there are just so many ways to become a better swimmer as an adult. One of the best ways you can go about it is to go onto the USA Triathlon website and start to get a little familiar with that and just play around with some of the resources in your area, because there are so many supportive ways that people will come around you and help you become a better swimmer.
Yeah, and Denise, I'll say too, is like I was never a competitive swimmer. When I started triathlon, I was most nervous about the swimming. I was a decent swimmer. I watched a lot of video. I watched a lot of YouTube. I would immerse myself in YouTube swimming videos and how to get better. And over time, things just clicked. And all of a sudden, I thought swimming would be my worst, and it's probably my best discipline of the three. And I'm not like a swimmer. So if you don't know how to swim at all, I definitely encourage you to to go and find someone. You can definitely find someone like a one-on-one lesson. And you know what too, of all the three disciplines, I think, there's a lot of snarky runners and there's a lot of snarky cyclists, but the swimmers are actually really nice people, and they will love to help you. That's the one discipline that, they will embrace you, and you don't have to feel any kind of, guilt getting in that pool as a beginner. People just want to help you out. And, I definitely encourage you to just, try to find someone who can give you a lesson or two nearby. And there's definitely ways to approach the swim in a triathlon, immersion swimming being one of them, that are very form conscious and not strength conscious. So you're just trying to get from point A to point B, and they're going to try to help you do that and get you comfortable doing that. Open water is kind of like a different animal. You probably have to deal with that. We can talk about that. I think everyone who goes into triathlon has that one, when you've never done it before, has that one thing that's wow, that's intimidating. That's something I really need to get over. I'm sure you've had probably to deal with this too, Stephanie. was there anything for you when you, I mean, obviously, you know, you said you DNF'd the triathlon, but have you done any kind of shorter non-Ironman 70.3 type of ones that you've?
Yeah, I've done a local series up in Las Vegas. I've done some sprint and Olympic distance.
Yeah, and Mike Rome, just his comment there too. High school swim coaches usually willing to help. I'm telling you, like, you just gotta ask. You just gotta find the people and ask the questions, and they will teach you how to swim. Like,
yes.
The thing about the other disciplines is, like, all right, you might crash on your bike and get a little scraped knee.
Yeah, well,
you might trip when you run, and you know.
Yeah,
like
you don't want to fail at
like
swimming.
If you fail at swimming in open water, you are not in a good way. You know, so they just I don't know. I find the swimmers tend to be really super helpful, and they embrace it. They really do. So I just encourage you to kind of go out and get some lessons. I'll kind of throw it open there for you guys. I know I talk too much. So you guys have any questions for Stephanie at the moment, or?
I have one.
Go ahead.
The other fat girl in the group. So you were talking about swimming. Like, I was a high school swimmer. I'm great at swimming. That's not the problem. How do you build up? Is it just like running where you're building up your endurance for swimming? Because I can, like today, run, and I'm good, and I'm not out of breath, and I'm not bad. But I get swimming, and I get about half a lap in, and the breathing is different. Is that right? Am I just?
Yep. Same as running, you just build up your endurance. It's a different discipline, and you're just having to build up that time, build up that endurance, and you just work a little bit harder at it.
Cool. Okay. Just because I'm not gonna do a try, because I do like to do swimming as like a cross training thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just kind of my thing, is just that and getting over the fear of I hate the deep end, because I always feel like I'm gonna fall down it. But that's a me thing. That's not a swimming thing. So it's just okay. And then is there a way later in the group you can post like good tools for people that are wanting to do laps more? Because you were talking about the adult whatever diapers, swimmer flippers, whatever they were. Yeah, somebody could put like a bunch of what to buy.
I can definitely send you some links on immersion swimming if that's one of the things that you want. But there's also sort of like the master's classes and stuff like that. I don't know if that was what was mentioned.
I did that. I did the master's level stuff when I was in high school, which was a lot of years ago. Enough that I now have a college student. So yeah, just basic. I just want to get laps just to get in and build up endurance for running, because running is #1 sport for me. So.
Do you find yourself getting tired while you're swimming, or you think it's more a sort of
it's a muscle and an endurance breathing thing. So it's just, I don't know if there's exercises for it. Hey guys, or what? So I don't know.
I mean, I would say like you definitely you build up. It's similar and it's different yet it's similar, right? So you can definitely build up, the number of laps that you do and the number, and it's similar also and one of the things I love about swimming and how it relates to running, intervals. You can, when you do an interval in running, it's run, then walk, and run, then walk. When you do it in swimming, it's more like swim, take a break.
Swim, then die, then swim, then die. Got it.
But you can kind of hang onto the wall and just like breathe, take a minute off and just, and kind of do it that way. But eventually you build up comfort in the water. And it seems like you've been swimming you said you've been swimming before, so it's not like it's brand new to you.
It's just like this whole getting back on a bike thing. It's been 20 plus years, so it's just I'm getting bit. It's just getting used to it again. Go on, guys. So my thing was like I'm swimming and I'm not going fast, and then I get to the end of the lap and I'm just like out of breath, which is a new concept. I don't know if I'm just overdoing it.
Well, it can be either or. I'll tell you what, too, Sarah, is that if you go to an Ironman event, and I don't know how many people here have watched one, but, a lot of people will go into that water in the open water swim, and they've never been in open water. And they've gone swimming in the pool 1,000 times, never been in open water. And it's freaky, and it puts you in a mental state that's totally different. You're with 100 people, without just people all over, and it can be very intimidating. As it can be in the pool.
Well, I made that post like last week when I was at the beach. I wasn't even like swimming in the water. We were just standing in the water, letting the waves hit me, and it was just like, you people, good for you. That's all I'm gonna say is good for you, because there is no way in heck. No, I liked the little bitty pool thing that I did, but I'm good.
Yeah, and a lot of people have that sort of like that kind of like a phobia. But if you go to an Ironman race, a lot of times you'll see that first buoy. These are people who have trained for months to do an Ironman distance triathlon, and they're hanging onto the buoy because they're suffering in the water, and it's like 200 yards. They can swim 200 yards. They've been training forever. But whether it be the water temperature, whether it be the choppiness of the water, whether it be the fact that you're in a crowd of people as opposed to your own lane in your pool, and this excitement of race day, it can all just, and you can experience that in the pool on your own, especially if you're nervous, like if you're kind of like in the water and you're nervous. That being said, you could still do a lap and take a break, and then do another lap, take a break, and then the next day try 2. And then the next day, you know what I mean? Just try to build it up that way. And it's as much as building it up mentally as it is physically. That would be my sort of approach to that. And especially if you're just using that as cross training, you just get it in, try to build it up slowly. And if it's, if you think it's something that's mental, I don't know what to do with you there, actually, but it's one of those that you work hard enough at it, and you'll build it up, and I think you'll do fine. Like I said, swimming for me was the most intimidating of the 3 disciplines when I started, and it turns out that I'm better at that than I am at the other 2. So it was kind of weird.
Okay.
What else do we got? I'm reading something. I'm just seeing like floaty pants and.
Hey, for Mike, that neoprene one that you posted, that's a great one for most people. I had got a huge rash from it, but yeah, it worked for the 2 minutes I had it on, and then when I got off, I'm allergic to it. So, but yeah, for other people, it's great.
Right. Yeah, I know they do have different materials. So I haven't researched them. I haven't used them. I've just heard a lot of good things about them. My online coach, Triathlon Taryn, has a couple of. He's got a junk ton of videos. And I'm not trying to shy you away from Scott as a coach or anything like that. I feel kind of bad saying it that way.
He's been a podcast guest of mine.
Really? Yeah. That's awesome. He's done a lot. He's had a lot of recommendations on a couple different brands. I know way back when he did a video on those. So that's, if there's different materials, that's just, I literally just went and looked on, Swim Outlet's a great place to
that's the one that my coach sent me, and I ordered it and I tried it and returned it.
Yeah.
But that's really different.
I can't wear the pants because most material I'm allergic to. I use the Ane swim buoy. It's just it's not the foam buoy. It's a plastic material, and it's actually really cool because you can fill either both cells or one cell with water and get some different resistance to work some different muscles. It's ENEY. It's the Ane swim buoy, and it's a pretty cool thing because my hips and booty are pretty big, and so my lower body sinks when I swim. I have terrible swim posture, so that works really, really well instead of the fluffy pants to bring
really, really well.
Yeah, so to bring my body up and get that good swim posture.
Okay, I'll look for that.
All right, so I think we're kind of approaching the end here, but does anyone else have anything else for Stephanie while we got her here? No?
I got to ask, what kind of bike you got? I saw in the picture that it looks...
So this is my bike over here. It is a Specialized Roubaix.
Yes.
I do ride a men's frame because I have a long reach. So I'm not comfortable on a women's frame. So.
See, we're bike buddies now because that's exactly the bike I've got.
Yeah.
I thought that's what it was when I saw it in the picture, so I had to ask.
Yeah.
Stephanie, are you on Zwift?
I am not. I am not on Zwift. I am a Sufferfest girl.
All right.
Yeah.
Mike's on Zwift tomorrow for like 75 miles. He's on the ride.
No way. You know, I tried Zwift and I can't do the whole cartoony thing. So I've been on Sufferfest for a couple years, and that's more my jam. So
I respect that. All right. So if no one's got anything else, Stephanie, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. And I know it's Friday night, and you know, I don't know. I felt like I got a lot out of tonight. This was really great. I really appreciate you coming by and talking to us.
Absolutely, and I'm in the Ordinary Marathoners group. So if you have any more questions, just shoot me a line.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie Lueras.
Again, nice seeing you all guys.
Yeah, all you guys. It's like a really good thing we got going on here every other Friday night. I really enjoy it. So thank you guys all for coming, and we'll talk to you during the week. Debbie, if you don't mind, can you hang around for a little bit? I want to talk to you. All right. Thank you, guys.